We live, we live, we live. What we on?
Yes, we are live.
Bam! I'm just
Bang.
being honest, connecting with the Black experience. It's the most disliked popular guy, Barry Axius, with the queen of queens, the shepherd of the Black world, the goddess warrior, the beautiful one herself, Mama Queen Rowe. How you doing, Queen?
I'm great. I'm great living my life like it's golden right now. I'm
Okay,
good.
beautiful. And as folks see that we have some special guests, we're gonna get into that. But we're just gonna dive in it because there's a lot for us to get. We have an hour. Of course, our show's an hour and a half, but we have our guests on for an hour. But what kind of touched me and Mama Rose's heart was this idea of a Black emergency, right? So we decided to create this series, the Black Pandemic. We've been in a state of emergency. Very clear, family. The Black Pandemic. We've been in a state of emergency. I need to say that very clear. So we wanted to get some grassroots family members to just get on here so we can really build it out. Because what I think that happens so often in moments like this, and I don't know if you guys are watching kind of some of the trends, one of the newest trends that I've been very vocal about, and it's not because I'm saying that it's not important. It's because I think that we find ourselves moving in these fake ideas that this is going to solve our problem. And it's giving away a bunch of free masks and hand sanitizer. To me, I feel it's offensive because back in the days when teen pregnancy was high in the Black community, we wasn't strolling out there giving out condoms. We was telling babies, stop having sex, as if they were going to listen. And I think that in this situation right now, we oftentimes collectively try to figure out a way how to appease the smaller problems. And I think giving away face masks, though I understand the importance of it, is kind of minute when I'm looking at the education system that we're dealing with. And a lot of our babies don't even have printers, laptops, and we're not making a strenuous effort. So besides that and all other things, our pre-existing condition has been here. And I think that sometimes we allow ourselves to allow folks who are not really on the ground working with the average everyday Negro to kind of speak for us as if they're in the same position. So we positioned ourselves to say we're going to set ourselves up to have a real conversation with Black folks so y'all can hear it from the ground up, people that we honor and respect and are doing major things in the world of Blackness, from business to education to politics and all the things in between, and even just from the grassroots level of just community building and advocating. We want to just go ahead and say thank you guys for coming on. My family from Stockton, can you go ahead, break down who you are, what you do? Then my family from Arizona, go ahead, even though y'all hiding somewhere else, we ain't gonna talk about y'all. Y'all breaking shelter in place, bro. We ain't gonna talk about y'all. Just a real quick synopsis on who you are, what you do, and then my family from Arizona do the same thing. Then we get into this conversation.
I'm excited to be on here. Thank you for even thinking about having me and having
Come
me
on, you already know you're a
part of the
superstar.
conversation.
Stop it.
Cut it
I'm
out.
like,
But I
I'm talking to
appreciate
a superstar right now. Go
Okay,
ahead.
okay. I receive it. But anyway, I'm Constance Carter. I am the CEO of Catalyst Real Estate Professionals. We are the largest African American owned real estate firm in the state of California. I'm also an investor, cannabis investor. I own the co-op spot out in Sacramento, which is an entrepreneur incubator, co-working space. We're really trying to build some relationships out there. But most importantly, I'm a wealth activist. And what's important to me is helping others that look like me to find financial freedom, to build wealth, to create legacies for their family. So that's my mission. That's my goal. And that's who I am.
Well, thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having me.
Right on.
AZ family, talk to us.
What's happening, family? Thank you as well for having us on. We greatly appreciate our voice being even considered. So yeah,
y'all the kings of Arizona, Phoenix. What you talking about? Kings and queens. What do you mean?
Not at all. We are kings and queens in exile. That's what taking us So yeah, my name is Henry. It's my wife Havana. We do a lot of things in Phoenix. One of them is for 3 years now we've been doing the Archwood Exchange by Black Marketplace, a place that we can host Black-owned businesses similar to what you do in Sacramento. We also have a couple of businesses on our own that we manage, and we also help mentor other people that are starting businesses and trying to take their businesses to the next level. And as of recently, we're more so in a mindset of trying to help people change the way they think about everything, because that dictates all your actions.
Yeah.
So so that's the mission we're on right now.
Man, blessing. Well, you know what? Y'all, listen, y'all three are very special for me because at the same time, personally, as I know you guys, watching you guys build from the ground up and watching guys' success, I remember my AZ family meeting y'all during the conscious tours and us just kind of connecting, and then me, you know, and you guys just continually keeping that communication, just leaving Arizona for Black History Month, what an epic moment that was. Would you guys build something that was so beautiful, and I was a pleasure of mine to be a part of that. And my sister from Stockton, the go-getter, the trendsetter, you know what I'm saying, the one and only, just watching your rise and to still be humble with all the gracious things that you've got. I just seen that you're about to be on some TED Talk. Congratulations, you know what I'm saying? Congratulations. Just make sure when you get on Time Magazine, you have me on the side, just like throwing my hands up, like, there you go. So we are really here with some true builders. And of course, as you guys know, my partner in crime and rhyme, Mama Ro. Mama Ro, how are you feeling about the activities of what happened here? Let's just dive into this conversation with the first thing, the shelter in place. How are you dealing with the activities that our white brethren and sisterin just did at the state capitol, where they broke all of the shelter in place orders and was roaming the streets, and it's become some kind of a thing? Mama Ro, what you thought about that, Queen?
I thought they were being their natural selves there. If you know history, white people gonna do what the fuck they want to do.
Yep.
Wow.
Let's be honest. If you go back through history, whether it's the cowboy days, whether it's, you know, whatever, 1918, you know, we just go on back. I think and I rode down there yesterday. I had to go to the bank to put some money in the bank. You know, I'm still working. And I seen them blocking off the Capitol Mall, and I thought to myself, what are these white people? You know, they just something else. Just some shit for them to do. You know, and I, you know, it reminded me when I went to Standing Rock, and me and my partner Javon and a few other people stand with the Native people to protect the water, and we were standing up there with some other same kind of white people, and the Native brother came and got us and said, "Y'all don't be on the front line. Let white people fight white people. Y'all come on down here with us." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So that's what I said yesterday. That's between them and their president, and how white people do it. Black folks should use this time to be building their ass off. This is like the greatest distraction we've never asked for. Building. We should be building. Y'all only need to spend no money. Can't get your nails done, can't get your hair done. Save that damn money. Get you some property. And they have money in there. They panicking. We done been to the bottom already.
So you basically saying that you don't see nothing wrong with it in a sense of, because here's my thing, because I went down there because I needed to see it for myself, right?
I see it, man.
And the only reason why I went down there is not, first of all, I agree with a lot of the stuff they were saying, but the way I see it, I listen to the message, but I'm not paying attention to the messenger, because at the same content, a majority of those people were Trump supporters, right? So it was like, you know, when you really break it all down, and we don't have that much time to break it down on this show, you did the hypocrisy on that is just like, come on, y'all can't be real. But they had in California, Sacramento, in this area right over here, when we had some side shows, we had some house parties happening, things was going on. They said that their shelter in place would be enforced, because they haven't really enforced it like the way they should have been. They said fines will be given out. Folks will be cited. Some folks will go to jail, and you know the folks will probably go to jail. The folks that probably got some type of record or probation, whatever, right? And when I heard about this, I said, well, I want to see how real this is going to be, because they started arresting black people, started harassing black people. Will the pale folks be harassed? And of course, they weren't. And the thing about what I heard was that CHP gave them actually a permit to do this kind of protest. And then the other thing I heard was, well, they were supposed to stay inside their car. I said, well, how are they going to stay in their car? The podium was there. The entertainment system was all set up together. They was ready. And folks keep on yelling at me about the First Amendment, Second Amendment, all these other things. You and I all know.
They believe in their amendments now.
Oh, yeah, but we all know that. It's not enforced for black people.
Guns, Barry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there were some guns there too. There were some guns there too, but it seems like this is a real movement that's going on. Nobody was social distancing. Rarely anybody had masks on. You had kids out there, so it speaks volumes to me that Black people are alone in this. What are your guys' thoughts on? Should we even be looking at that, or we should be looking at totally different direction? Even though we know some of what the government is doing is really detailing their next plan to take away more of our freedoms, to take away more of our liberties. How do you think we should even look at this situation, or is this just something that just to be distracting us?
I think we need to worry about us.
Okay.
Fraser said it best. He said Black people spend too much time worried about white people. You know who white people worried about? White people.
That part.
So what we should be, this is the best time in the history of the world of us being in this country for 400 years. It really is. Because what it's done is, I mean, it hasn't leveled the playing field by any means, but everybody is on a reset. And if we're not taking this time to really focus on the things that we can do, and the reason why this is such a great time is because now we have things like online. There's things that we can do. Like while this pandemic was going on, I wrote a little ebook, 7 online revenue streams to fund your $1 million dreams. Here's 7, actually 8 things you can do online to make money right now, while we're waiting to go back to the new normal, because everybody should have more than one revenue stream.
Yes.
Barry, you are the consummate hustler. I know you do a whole lot of everything.
Thank you.
We all should be doing that. None of us should be having one. Even me having a real estate company or being a real estate agent, I always tell my agents, because most brokers say, focus on one thing, and get at it, but then you need to branch off and do some other things. So we should always never have our eggs all in one basket. Right now, we need to be strategizing. We need to be figuring out what we need. This is incubation season. If you really want to get out of debt, if you really want to get from underneath the government's thumb, then you need to be focused on what the hell you need to be focusing on right now. And right now, it's focusing on your shit. And once you can get your stuff together, you won't have to worry about what the government's doing, what the white folks is doing, what the Asians is doing. You have your thing together. And so if you ain't doing this right now, I don't know when you're going to do it. I don't know when is the best time for you to do it. But right now, I just think that a lot of people are spending too much time thinking about what they can't do and not focusing on what they can. And that's the real problem.
Amen.
Family, what you think?
I agree with the 7 streams. That's my motto. I've been saying that for about 10 years. Everybody needs to have 7 hustles or 7 things that they're making money. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So yes, kudos to that. But in regards to what's going on right now, I'm loving it, because white people are not used to not being able to attain or access money. And it's so funny because as Blacks, we know how to do all the side hustles and how to make it with a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. They want to get back out because they're losing money. They can't believe that something is causing them to lose. And I'm enjoying it. And I do think that we need to be sitting in on the background during this reset, making money. We've already strategized how to buy our house in like the next few months. We put a whole plan together. And I really, really wish people would understand, you're rushing to get back to prison. People want to go back to work. You want to hop back in a system that has you tied into the idea that you have to be in a system. And like when people are like, we want to go back to work, I'm like, you sound crazy. Like, I don't understand. Like, take this time, especially for the people who are unemployed. They're paying people $800 a week. Take that and build and do what you need to do, and stop trying to rush back into your regular, for some, lower paying jobs. It's almost like people are brainwashed, like their egos are connected to the idea that they have to get up and go to a 9 to 5. And if they don't, they're failures. And it's interesting to watch. And so I've been telling all Black people, I'm like, let this capitalistic society fall on that side for white folks. We got restaurants in Phoenix that have been open for like 20 years. After 2 weeks of no business, they had to shut their whole business down. Y'all living paycheck to paycheck too. It don't make no sense. You kind of really see what's going on in the economy. And I'm happy, like, that's good. These places do need to close, and it's time for opportunity to come for those that haven't been able to do the same. So That's my
Wow.
spiel.
Okay, no, that's real talk. Now, when we talk about 7 streams of income, can both you queens tell us, sis, go ahead, Carter, tell us your maybe 3, and then sis, you tell us your 3. Hopefully there'll be 3 different ones. But I think that for me, we're in this idea when we talk about this Black pandemic, again, we've been in a state of emergency. I want to definitely kind of throw that out there, because for any Black person to believe that because of the coronavirus, oh shit, my life is kind of hit to an angle, I think what you guys touched on was something very serious. Think about it. People are trying to rush back to be slaves. Right?
Mhm.
What we were doing before was not normal. Not seeing
Right.
our kids, always having to be on the go, always having to be on someone else's call, being rushed into traffic, from work to work, after work, in between. It was craziness. But if you, and I like all of us here are independent, right? So our schedule is based on what we project in our workday and however we want to navigate it. If we want to go out and vacation, we'll put that in our situation. Most of the times, a lot of our work is also vacation as well, right? We put that in the middle. So us being independent thinkers, this is even the most, I think, opportune time, because it gives us more time to figure out ways how we can really strategize and go for the home run. What are 3 valued streams of income that Black people should be looking in or investing in at this particular time?
Ooh. So let me just say this. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says that we should have 7 revenue streams in case a disaster strikes the land. That's
Wow.
what the Bible says. In case a disaster strikes the land, guess what? Right now, a disaster has stricken the land, and we should have been prepared for this already. Now, if you talk about my revenue streams, again, I own a real estate company. I sell real estate. We do lending. I'm an investor in a marijuana dispensary. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a speaker. But even during this pandemic, I created 2 more jobs. I created 2 more revenue streams. I took this time to say, okay, here, what are some other things that I can be doing right now? But for the average person, you can go to Google University. I call it GTS. Google that shit. You can go on Google University and figure out anything that you want to figure out in the world. You could basically get your PhD on Google. So some things that you could do, say you have administrative skills. You can be a virtual admin, virtual administrator, right? You can go on places like Upwork. They have about 5 or 6 online platforms that hire virtual administrators. Okay, that's one. Number 2, you can do drop shipping. Drop shipping. Say you wanted a retail space, but you don't have a retail store, but you don't have the space. So you're just the middleman. You're the marketer. You're the person that's bringing the product to the market. That's 2. 3, you can, if you have, say, skill set in, you could be a baby. Well, no, that's not online. You can, if you have graphic design skills, you can go on Fiverr and you can be a provider for Fiverr, or you may be a freelance writer. You can go to Upwork and you can do some freelance writing on Upwork. They have a plethora of different opportunities that you can do online, but you could be pulling from every different one. I have 8 in my book, but there are so many that you can get online. So many.
Sis, what about you?
I agree with her on the drop ship thing. I have some funny ones that you would never even imagine could make money.
We need to hear them all. People need to get on it.
So personally, right now, what has blown up for me since the pandemic is I have an online spiritual botanica and like crystals and whatnot. And right now in these times, people are like very, very dependent upon their spirituality, right? That has blown up. Like when I say like we cannot stop the orders, we can't stop working. We literally have to pack almost 24 hours a day to try to keep up with the demand that has come in since the pandemic. So I agree with you in regards to like drop ship, any kind of product that is really popular during, like, it's not hard to just go online and look at what's trending right now and get into that business, whether it's t-shirts and design different things. Like, it's so easy to set up a Printful account, get the logos done on there, and then send them out. I got that from him, this man right here. But what's so funny is my girlfriend is making so much money making drunk Uno games. When I say money, I mean like real money. You would never expect anybody to make money on a drunk Uno game, but she's making like $3,000 and $4,000, you know, every 4, 5, 6 days.
Really?
Together. Yeah, just rebranding Uno cards into a kit with shot glasses and like printing it out and making a grip.
Just gave her a hustle away.
I didn't. Well, I'm just. I didn't give her hustle away, but I mean, but you know, people are doing that now, so I don't know if anybody want to hop in. But there's different games that you could do that with. There's just so many creative things that you can do, and people are at home right now, you know, with their families, and they want something to do, so you can fulfill that. On our end, we have a game that we're getting ready to come out with called Quotables. I have an online hair styling company. I don't believe in brick and mortar. I feel like that's, you know, a past. That's just a different thing. Like everything needs to be online. So I had an online hair business where people could come on, make their appointments, and we show up. You don't have to own a hair salon for that. You don't have to have all the necessary licensing for that, right? Yeah, and now I do spiritual readings through my tradition. I'm doing spiritual work, and some of that is just all by phone. So there's just a lot of different angles. We did a virtual Archwood on Saturday. So we called up all of our vendors, thanks to Henry again, and, you know, talked to them online. People knew where to get the products from and how to tap in. There's so many different things that you can do. You just have to be creative. Like she said, Google is your friend.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
That's the Constance Carter. What can people do right now to help put them in a position to buy a home? That's big, because housing. Because while this is going on, people are still struggling with housing. So some people have shelter in place because the only shelter they have is somebody's room.
That's true.
You know, buckets together. How much should they be saving? Like I got my little check. I just put that to the side. I ain't even, you know, I know I need to go put it in the bank, but I was like, yeah, I need to. You know, I'm gonna start filling my grandma, get some money up in the closet.
Yeah. Number one, I mean, if you have income, if you have steady income, you have a job, you have steady income, and you have decent credit, you should be able to buy a house. There's no reason why anybody who's working and who's renting should not have own their own house. If it's credit, that's easy. One of my best-selling books is about credit. Right now, you should be, if you're not doing anything, you should be repairing your credit. And it's not something that you have to pay anybody else to do. It's something that you can really learn how to do yourself. In fact, I have an online training program that you can take, and you can not only fix your credit, but you can take that information and become a credit expert and start making money fixing other people's credit. That's another online revenue stream. But credit is a non-issue. I help people get their credit scores up 100, 200 points within a month. It's something that I have an expertise at. I don't personally do it. I have books, I have programs that do it. But credit should be a non-issue. But if you have a job, you should be able to own a home. No doubt about that. Right now, work on your credit, work on getting your ducats up. There are down payment assistance programs that can help you. Does that mean you have to come out of pocket with no money? No, that doesn't. You need a little bit of money. You got to pay for inspections. You got to pay for your deposits. But you can get a lot of assistance. And right now, because of what's going on, we have a lot of sellers that are willing to give different compensation. They're willing to, pay for some closing costs and things like that to reduce anything that you have to come in with. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity out there. I just picked up an investment property last week. Rates are still super low. Because the Federal Reserve rates are at 0%, that does not translate to you getting a 0% interest rate. And I want to make sure people are clear about that.
Can you clarify that, please? Can you clarify that, please?
I want that 0%. Yeah. So what that means is the Federal Reserve have given other institutions 0% interest, not the consumer, right? So I'm giving banks 0% interest. So in order for them to borrow from me, they don't have to pay any interest back. But the interest that they give to you is whatever the interest that they're charging you. That does not necessarily mean that you get. So typically when the Federal Reserves reduce their rates, they'll normally extend that savings to you. So it's called prime. It's called the prime interest rate. So if prime interest rate is 2%, whatever they're being charged, they have their interest rate that they charge on top of that. So they'll say prime plus 1 means their interest rate is 2%, and they're charging an extra 1% on top of that. Your interest rate is 3%. So just because it's 0% does not mean it's translating to you at 0%. Right now, rates are between the 3s and the 4% range, which is still really good, historically low. But when people call me up and say, "Hey, I want that 0%," that's not what's happening. They're not getting a 0% interest rate.
See, Game. That's game. Now, do you feel that right now is the best time to buy or to wait? Or even in a sense, is this considered our recession, or we have a lot more to look forward to down the line?
Well, the economists are saying that, that we're in a recession right now. And I mean, and that's based upon the jobs, the unemployment, that's based upon the stock market. All of those things are recipes for a recession. However, the rates are still low, and they're keeping them low to stave off sort of the depression that it can actually go into. What's going to happen with housing? I don't see that we're going to have another 2008, only because what the government realizes is that the housing market, that the entire global economy is predicated on the housing market. If the housing market drops, everything goes to hell. Everybody. So we're not going to see a fire sale of, people being able to pick up houses for $50,000. You're not going to see that, because the government is going to do whatever they can. That's why hence the 0% interest rate. Hence the stimulus package that's helping people to not, to have a moratorium on foreclosures and pay mortgage payments. So they're doing everything they can to keep people in houses, because once we start to see the foreclosures hit, it's going to kill everything. It's going to kill the entire global economy. So I think it's still a good time. And I wouldn't say that if I was not buying property right now. So you got to look at, when you're looking at real estate, don't look at what right now. Just like I talked to Dr. Boyce Watkins yesterday, when you're looking at stock, you look at what's going to happen in the next 10 years. Same thing with real estate. Don't look at what's going to happen in a year or two. If you can afford it and your interest rate is low, go for it, right? Even if the market drops. Say I buy a house for $200,000 right now, right? And I can afford it. And it goes down, say $50,000. You know it's going to come back up. At some point, I'm going to make my money. So don't worry about what you're going to get next week, next month, next year. Look at it as a long-term investment, like you look at any other investments. One of the issues with the Black community is we don't diversify. We're scared of investing, and we don't diversify our portfolios. And our wealth gap is already really wide. Our net worth is less than $2,000 collectively as Black people, but we have $1.3 billion in spending, right? And our white counterparts, their net worth is over $100,000. That's huge. And by 2053, our net worth is set to be zero. Okay, if we don't do something right now. And of course, there's contributing factors to that. There's slavery, there's inequities, there's redlining, there's predatory lending. There's all of those things that contribute to where we are today. But there are things that we can do. So we need to start buying real estate because we can. But the other thing is we have to diversify in other ways. So Black people a lot of times are scared of the stock market. We don't want to invest in stock. We don't want it, but we have to be able to do that. And that's one of the things that's keeping the wealth gap pretty wide, is because our white counterparts, they're well vested. We have to get to a place where we're well vested, and we might not see a big return now. You may not get rich now, but what about the kids? What about the children's children?
Generational wealth. Right on.
That's what it's about.
To Baba down at the bottom, what can couples do? Because I see a lot of couples renting, or trying to figure out let's forget the club, let's start a business. How did y'all start businesses with each other?
Besides, before trying to kill each other, when y'all try to do
it. Well, that's a given, right?
That's gonna happen.
So when we got back together after 15, 20 years, I was heavy into my 9 to 5. She came just chilling. I'm like, come on now, at least get out the bed when I leave to make it look like you're gonna do something today. While I'm getting up to go sit in traffic. And eventually, just watching the way she moves and manifests, I'm like, hold on, let me get a taste of this. And so I dug my heels in, and from that point, we've just fed off each other in terms of our energy and ideas and matching them up to be able to create things that we hope to be legacies to pass down to our children, and that will allow us to do what we want to do more so than need to do. And it all happens in times like this. We sit and have conversations. My number one motto is put the paint where it ain't. So I don't necessarily want to recreate something that's already being done out there. So we both just have ideas of stuff that somebody might be doing it, but they're just not doing it the right way. And we'll try to match the idea or match the process with the energy or the essence of it to be able to come up with something that's tangible and marketable. You know, and 9 times out of 10, we want it to be something that benefits us as a whole, to be able to show people that you can benefit your community and make money at the same time without being looked at as a predator. So that's the energy and the vibration that we keep in everything that we do. And I think we're getting better with trying to kill each other
without killing each other. I also think it's important to like do what you love. A lot of people like to try to like get into things because they think it looks or, you know, sounds a certain way. And I've always been somebody that has followed my heart. And I think I've worked for 2 people my entire life. I've always been self-employed. When you do what you love, it's almost like it's a hobby that you get paid to do. And I think people should follow their heart when they're looking into business. Now, that's not to say everybody should be a rapper or, you know, a hairstylist, because that's like one of the number one things that we do. But, you know, what else do you like to do? Like, we have a friend now who likes to read to children's book, and now that he's doing virtual story time. I think Michelle Obama's doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So and then another friend who wants to be in charge of like summer camps. Just figure out where your connection is, like what speaks to your heart and your purpose. You know, for everyone that's connected spiritually, you know, what path have you been put on by your religion or your tradition or whatever? What are your duties? Some people are given and been told what they need to do here on earth, and like walk that path and let God bless you with the journey that you're supposed to be on, which will manifest tons of money and blessings. I've seen it happen. But stop trying to be the one that's like the mover and shaker and just coming up with stuff. I want to be like that person. They moving and shaking, and that might not be your calling, you know?
Shaking in place.
Does politics fit into you all's businesses at all?
No.
We are not connected to any. Yeah, nah.
I don't. You got to tell me what's going on
Politics,
with them.
policy.
No. Not at all. It strictly comes from, like we said, the energy that we have in ourselves and that we see with our people. Everything comes from that.
I'm gonna give you an example. So in our city, we had this fund where businesses were getting these loans to sustain them during this time. Well, you know, most of those loans went to Midtown, downtown, which is heavily white, heavily the gay community, and of course the Asians got there. So even though we don't know where they are in political parties, politics don't always mean voting Democrat or Republican. It's like, how do you get those resources by who you support, and you become important to them, so they want to make sure you survive. So downtown cannot fail. Asian communities, they still building their bank on Freeport. They building 2 new banks. Asian people are on Freeport Boulevard. And I'm like, we're in the middle of a crisis and they still out there building the bank. That's kind of deep.
But you know, here's the thing. I think we need to take responsibility. I think we really need to be the ones to say, listen, because sometimes we're just not applying for the loans. I know people were complaining. They were saying, you know, only 3% of Black people are actually approved SBA loans. Well, I got an SBA loan. And the problem is Black people just don't know how to, you know, do their paperwork and fill out the applications correctly, or they don't know how to do their taxes correctly. You know, so I think the issue is what we have to do is we have to go back and say, well, how do we teach us how to do things correctly so that we can take advantage of some of the opportunities? Now, it does not mean that racism is not a huge factor in a lot of things. I'm not taking that away at all. But I'm saying let's go back and let's stop blaming these other people, and let's say, okay, what can we do from a very grassroots level? And I know that you guys love doing this from a really foundational perspective. And let's see how we can educate our people. That's one of the things that we're going to be doing at our co-op spot in Sacramento. Is we're going to have training there so that we can teach people, how do we get SBA loans? How do you start a business? How do you create, you know, how do you create your corporation, your LLC? How do you do things the right way so that you can start taking advantage of the opportunities out there, so that you can't say, look at these Asians coming out here and taking up all of our resources. Look at these Arabs coming out here and taking up all our resources. Now we know how to get in position to be able to get that money too.
I agree with you. I agree. I wasn't saying it in terms of blaming. I was saying that they.
I know you weren't. I'm just saying in general.
They have some kind of cooperative economics that they agree on, which is why they buy up whole blocks.
Yes.
And I'm like, can I get a block? Like,
right. That's
but
right.
I wonder, like, how would we be able to do that? Like, you know, how can we, as businesses or business owners or business brains? I love a business brain. Like, man, okay, let me how can we do that? Because now I think this is important in that time right now for us to be doing that.
Well, you guys are organizers. You and Barry are organizers.
Yeah.
You guys have the people's ear. So we need to collaborate together so that we can put some stuff together to say, hey, you guys want to start, taking advantage of these opportunities. You guys have everybody's ear. Let's get them together so that we can do it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, right.
I agree.
Got excited.
I would love to collaborate with you all on that. I got my first SBA loan when I was 23 years old.
Wow.
I had no business training or anything. I literally went in there and was like, what do I need? Give me a list of every single thing that I need to get approved for this loan. And they gave me the requirements. They told me that I had to write out my business plan. And I went and sat down, and it took me 2 months. And I came back and I got an SBA loan by myself at 20-something years old. It's not hard. And I think a lot of us could do it. I mean, we got so many coaches and people that are doing business, air quotes. This is something that should be taught. I think that we could totally collab and try to get people together on SBA loans. Now, the only part that is weird about it is SBA kind of can be a little bit predatory too sometimes. So that's one aspect that I didn't like about SBA, but I think we could be creative and come together and find out how to teach people how to do this. I mean, because if you can get SBA, you can get any loan.
Absolutely.
Well, here's my thing. Well, here's my thing. When we talk about the connections with political.
You have some feedback, Barry.
Huh?
You have feedback.
Okay. Who wants to say something to the guy?
Better now.
Okay. So when I'm saying about the political connection in my Arizona family, we've talked about that. The reason why those folks down there at the state capitol yesterday was able to get in a shelter-in-place order, a permit with CHP, is because they knew someone who knew someone that knew someone. That's kind of what we're talking about political. The reason why a lot of those folks, small businesses in Midtown and other places got what they got wasn't necessarily because of the SB loans. They knew how to do it right. It's because politically they're connected with someone that knows someone that knows someone. My point when we're talking about the political aspect, first of all, I believe we should be starting our own political party, but that's for another conversation. That's truly what we should be doing. But how is it that us as Black folks, when we talk about raising the stakes, don't you guys think with all of the spending power we know we have, Sis said that we have trillions of dollars worth of spending power, and knowing that we have celebrities as well as other folks who have ventured in entrepreneurship that have made wealth for themselves, we have some Zuckerbergs in our community. They may not be promoted like him, but we know we have them in our community. Shouldn't it be, because we know what the loans are going to be, if we decide, say, we're not politically connected, okay, let's move and navigate, shouldn't we all be coming up with our own funds, our own funding to support these businesses? So in this place, in this time, when we're in, we not only have celebrities, we have entrepreneurs, we have some political aspects of it, to have a fund where we ain't even going to SB loans, we have our own pot. And that creates something that, to me, defines what this struggle looks like. Because I think that regardless of how much we can do the SB loan in a proper way, 2 to 3 will get it, and then there'll be about 20 that don't, and then you see about 100 other folks that get it because they're connected. How in that way should we go about that? Knowing that the situation is what it is, and we're against the wall.
Yeah. Collective economics is the key. Just like you said. I mean, we have to start working with one another. I love the fact that you guys have the African marketplace where Black people can spend with Black people. We need to have more of that. We don't have it enough. We don't necessarily, they say that we have $1.3 trillion spending power, but only the funds leave our community in 6 hours. Because we don't have a place where we can go and spend our money with, at least in our communities, right? So we need to start having our own businesses, but we need to start having our own shopping centers and strip malls, the things that you guys have. But we also need to start entrusting ourselves and start spending with each other. But I think Black people we need to have more entrepreneurs in our communities.
I would say the one thing, excuse me, it's unmuted. The word that we've used most so far, at least within the past couple of minutes, is we. I think the biggest problem right now is the definition of what we
We
is.
ain't a we. We ain't a
That's
we.
real talk. That's real talk.
We ain't a we.
That's real talk.
Because if the we that we think it is existed, we wouldn't be having these conversations still. These athletes and entertainers, they are not part of our we.
Yup, I said
Therefore, when we look at the collective and we say what we're not doing, we're including them in that we, and therefore we fall short based on what we think our capabilities are.
Yes.
If we look at the we as the people who have the mindset and knowledge that are on this call and people that we know who they are, we can then at that point recalibrate our expectations based on our real-time capabilities. And I think at that point, we'll probably be able to accomplish more, because right now we're a 100-pound dude going to a bench press 500 pounds just based on who we think we are. If we start at 25 pounds based on the muscles that we see in the mirror, we can start building our way up. So I think the term we, us, our, I think it's oversimplified, and I think we need to redefine it so that we know what we're truly capable of and what resources we really do have.
So this whole idea of we all we got, we in this together, that's just more calculated brainwashing and advertisement for someone's brand compared to being a real thing?
No, I think it's I don't think it's I think it's a miscalculation.
Okay.
Because it's that whole skin folk, kinfolk. We include skin folk in the we, when in reality we need to know who the kinfolk are.
Right.
Then we can redefine we and say, okay, what knowledge, not what money do you have, but what knowledge and motivations do you have? Then that way the we can start being more of a collective.
Yes, right.
And that's why I called on y'all, because y'all are part of my we. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I look at it, because I can't call on other folks that I know has maybe some access a little bit more than we all have on this podcast, but I know what my circle is. And with my circle, I'm calling on y'all to be able to sit there and say, let's start some real conversation about this Black pandemic, because since you said something about brick and mortars and how those are obsolete, but in a sense, when I look at brick and mortars, we ain't gonna be able to Google food and just not have a place to cook it. Trust me, I'm out the house with it like I'm selling dope. You know what I'm saying? And if I had that brick and mortar, it'd be 10 times easier. But we're gonna get to that later. Don't you think having infrastructure like that, kind of that imagery, helps us obtain the things that we need? Because a lot of the times when I think we subdue ourselves because Black people don't have any industries and we don't have infrastructure. So having like a strip mall, like my sister was saying, being able to know that Black person owns it. And I will say, I do probably think there's a few strip malls around that Black people do own. May not be advertising it, but don't you think that would help support this idea of us moving into more of this week?
Absolutely. I think when it's a collective of people working together, that makes sense. When I speak to brick and mortars, I feel like for some reason people think they've made it if they have a space, and they get into brick and mortars way earlier. It's like, if your business hasn't started yet, you don't need to go directly into a brick and mortar. Like, get started, make money. Let's see what your revenue is going to be. Let's base this off of real time and not the fantasy that as soon as I open my doors, money's going to come through. We see so many people put money into brick and mortar first 2-3 months, and then they're done. A slow day or two here and there, and then we're trying to raise money to save businesses. We've done it several times here in Phoenix. And so I think if we have a plan and we're collectively coming together to buy a shopping center like that, or strip mall, that makes sense. But I'm saying the people who have wasted, we know at least 10 different businesses that if we would have collectively come together with that money, they could have saved, but they opened a business for a year or so, and then now it's obsolete.
Okay,
So yeah,
I like that.
absolutely.
Okay, I like that. See, that's and I think that I wanted to formulate the breakdown on how you experience that. Believing in yourself is one thing, but being
Right.
realistic is another thing, right?
Yeah.
Negro, do you really need that 2,000 square feet building?
No.
Or should you just have that 500 square feet building that you know you're going to be able to pay for that staffing, the rental costs, the product, whatever it is? And I think that idea of I made it brick and mortar, but then next thing you know, a month later, because imagine what's going on right now. You know, as we collectively have Florence Square, we're not getting no break on rent. I got two businesses in there, and it ain't no break on our end, even though it's black owned. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about the we, right, sis, you know what I'm talking about because you paid your rent too. We talk about the we don't really see like we see, because I think too many people think that when it's black people amongst us that the right thing will be done, and it's not really the right thing that gets done. And I think that's why we're talking about we're in a state of emergency. We've been in a state of emergency because we're not moving in this idea of unifying our resources to build something great.
So only thing I wanted to add, so we just had this elder brother die, Earl Graves Sr. I don't know about y'all, but I did grow up reading Enterprise magazine, had a subscription for years. And so, you know, this guy was an entrepreneur. He was a publisher. He was a businessman. He was a philanthropist. He did a bunch of stuff. But I also remember when the brother said all your skin folks are your kin folks, I do think sometimes representation helps and hurts. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you be looking for that black person to be like maybe a guide for you, and they in there like, I'm in here, you got to get in there. We don't always look out for each other. It's like we don't want all of us to be in the same place. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like when I look at other communities, and then not to compare, because I know we don't have the same story, but I can see a Chinese restaurant, at least 5 of them in the same block. Yeah. And all of them be full and all of them getting business in. We only have to have one black bakery or one black Botanica or one black. And I've been in places where there's been 3 Botanicas on the same block. So, you know, it's kind of like there's a mindset that's attached to economics and a protocol that we sometimes don't get. And so that's why sometimes we be kind of dangling out there. That's like having someone owning a building, but they don't fix it up because we black and maybe we don't deserve to have a nice space. But it's a black person. So we just gotta, like, we act like that's an unspoken rule in business. And so there's these other things that we have to give people who run businesses that sometimes other people don't have to worry about that, but we do.
No, you're right.
I know that sounds jacked up. I don't mean to be like the Debbie Downer.
No, it's real.
It's like shit. Like
it's real, but that's been ingrained in us.
It's a serious thing because when I used to own my hair salon, you know, people used to always act like, oh, well, that shop down here and this. I'm like, do you understand here in San Diego County, there's no way that we could service every single black person. Do you understand that we actually need multiple salons in order for us to be able to service every single black person? I don't want every single black person's business, not in any of my business. That's impossible. We got millions of, how many black folks is in Phoenix? We got about, I don't know, but I personally can't handle the business of all black people. And I think that's the problem with blacks. It's like they haven't seen too many people do it. So they think, oh, well, if this person has this business down here, I can't set up the same business that right here. But that's not the case. Just market yourself and provide good service, and you'll bring in the business that you need. I think we need to stop competing with ourselves. There's like some sense of that. I think that's a spirit thing. There's like a broken PTSD or some kind of ego death that needs to happen when it comes to black folks in business, because we're so competitive and we don't even realize that there's no way that we could actually offer, you know, business to every single black person in said city or, you know, state or whatever. We have to be realistic. You can even handle the amount of people that wanted to come to your business if you were trying to service that many black folks. You don't have enough supplies to service that many black folks. You need other black businesses to help support the black community. And we have to be more realistic about that.
Is the Black Chamber of Commerce, is that a good thing in most cities? You know,
not in Phoenix.
Okay.
They told they didn't want to work with us because they said they would lose their corporate sponsorships if they worked with the organization that only worked with black businesses.
What about yours? What about it?
Literally. What's that?
What about in Stockton, sis? What about the Black Chambers over there?
I think they're getting a little bit better. No, listen, they are honoring me. They're honoring me with an award, so I'm going to say they're getting better.
Well, here's the thing about it, and this is where we come down into the moments, right? We have the NAACP and we have the Black Chambers, and it's not to knock them. It's not to knock them. And we have all these big, great organizations. I mean, we even had Black Lives Matter. Shouldn't it all matter right now? Shouldn't it be a place where all these big organizations in moments of distress? Because if you want to talk about distress, right now is distress, right? For Black people especially. Shouldn't we all be assembling now like Voltron and getting it to the point where it's like, all right, everything makes sense? I just don't see that we can lean on all these folks in a sense moving forward if we know their capability in a pandemic that we're in, they are not reliable here. Shouldn't we be building other systems that are more fluid in these moments? What do you think, sis?
I mean, I think just the fact that we're having this conversation is speaking to a lot, and it's definitely I think it's going to pique the interest of a lot of people who didn't think about these things, these questions that you're posing. And then to go back to, the question about the competition, white supremacy has done that to us, right? White supremacy has not done that to the Asian community, to the Hispanic community, the way they've done that to us. They will have a corporation and they will only invite one of us here. And it's like we are fighting tooth and nail to keep our position. And we've taken that and we've lived, that's just been ingrained in who we are, in our DNA and how we do business. And we think, I got to get mine. It's part of the capitalism. It's part of the rugged individualism of what capitalism is. But we have to look at history. Look at Black Wall Street. Look at collective economics. Look at what we were able to do together. The African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, we have to be able to go together. We have to be willing to go together. We have to get back to that. Yeah, there might be 3 salons on the same block. Yeah. And I tell my agents all the time, what God has for you is for you. So I want you to celebrate other people's wins, because you are only going to bring greater to you. The universe is only going to bring greater to you. If we can learn to celebrate ourselves and stop looking at other people and what they're doing, we are going to be blessed. But we have to shift that mindset within ourselves. And it's a whole, I'm hoping, within our generation, we get out of our systems, because, our moms and our grandmas, they had to deal with that. So I'm hoping this is something that's being flushed out, because it's a different conversation that we're having today than what we had, maybe 30, 40 years ago. Because I know, my mom is from the South. My parents are from the South. They had a whole different mentality about things than I do. That whole inferiority complex that they have. My mom coming from Arkansas, and the way that they saw things, they was just a couple of generations away from slavery, and they had that mentality. And so we have to just flesh that out, especially for the next generation. My kids don't think there's anything that they can't do in this world because of what I'm instilling in them. And we just have to continue to have these conversations.
Right on. I would just want to add to that. I do think when you look at history, there were definitely more Black businesses at that time than we have right now.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they came right up out of slavery, they were some workers.
Absolutely.
But I think, but I think the reason why is because, and I speak on this a lot, they had no choice. Yeah. I think that the fact that we have too many choices, think about it. The first part of what we had the conversation and to lean into this is that white folks are rushing to get back into a slave mentality. But the reality, niggles is just as well, because this is showing me niggles don't know how to move and react without master. Like, they need to be able to wake up at a certain time. They need to be able to be told what job they have to do. Like I said, with builders, and this is not a knock on folks, but when you've been building and you've been hustling and been grinding the way we have grinded and other folks who are entrepreneurs have grinded, this time right here is a blessing in disguise, because it helps us reset, and it also makes the innovativeness of us to be like, oh, what am I going to help build? Because I can't express the levels of work I've been able to get done not only with my 3 Black chefs feeding the Black community doing that project, but being able to really see when we talk about that test ground, sis, about the brick and mortar, I'm prepared for a brick and mortar because I'm watching my sales on a Saturday and a Sunday and a Monday. I'm calculating that and said, I'm making enough money to pay for staff. I'm making enough money to pay for a equally affordable spot, and I'm making enough money to get a product. So I can maybe put this together or maybe even get a food truck. So my testing ground is not limited because Saturday and Sunday and Monday of another week, I have to go run here. I have to go run here. I got to meet this deadline. Right. So I think this idea is really dead that we can't. I think the idea has to be raised that we can, and I want to support that can. And what is a person's can? What can that person do for this particular time? So when we talk about can, and I'm gonna go to my family in Arizona, when did you know you can create something that folks would actually go? I mean, not just a few hundred, thousands of folks have come to your guys' place of business at the exchange.
Well, I put up a post the other day. It's just everything that you guys was just talking about, and I just summed it up into one man's revelation is another man's Genesis. We just got to decide which it is. We accept other people's revelations. We just got to decide it's our Genesis. But essentially what we've done, the mindset, I think one of the biggest issues is that the reason why all of this happened, all of these things that have happened that we've talked about that has been a setback to us is because we fail to realize that in terms of the way we think, we're American before we're Black. Therefore, you can have 2 Black businesses in a city, but chances are they selling American stuff. We don't really have anything that's uniquely ours. Okay. So, and that even goes for soul food. The white people sell soul food. So we are the fabric of America. And I think the sooner we recognize that, the sooner we can start moving business-wise to cater to the American and not just the Black American, because we know how we think and we're not going to really be able to survive on our dollar alone. So the way we've been operating lately, especially with the marketplace, is what does the Black American want to see? But we're not going to put a social responsibility guilt on your head to come support us. We're going to create an experience that we know that you like. Okay. And if we don't get you, that's our fault. I'm not going to guilt trip you because you didn't support Black. That's not your job. Because I've told people in the past, if you have a business model that depends on support, you're going to fail every time. So we just try to base things around the way we think and cater to whatever that is that's going to bring your dollars through the door. And right now I'm struggling. I've never really had a product for white people before, but I'm trying to transition to that. I don't know what they like. I don't know how to find them. I know how to find us because I know how we think. So I think once we learn that, we crack the code. That we learn how to be an American business as opposed to an African American business, and appeal to those traits. And I think then at that point we'll probably be able to get past all of this stuff that we're worried about.
You think the same way too, sis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to be diverse. We can't. We can think our people first, but we don't necessarily have to think our people only. Right. So my mission is to help us. That is my number one priority, us first. However, it doesn't mean that I'm leaving anybody out. I own a real estate company and I employ everybody. Everybody from all walks of life can get it. I want to help everybody. Economically, though, we need the most help. And one of the things that I tell my agents, especially my Black people, is that we've had so much discrimination. We've had so much redlining. We've had so much against us that our people need help. And as long as we are in this business to help, we will never go hungry. There's so much people that need us. Yeah. So, I mean, if you have whatever your product or service is, when you find that people need you and you're coming from a place where you're serving, then you'll always be in business. Period.
So now let's go into the fact of, for some of the folks that are just straight up on this, F white folks, F Asians, because you see what the Asians are doing to us right now in their land. You know, as soon as they said black people were the face of Corona, they're trying to kick out Africans and doing what they're doing. And we haven't heard too many Asian folks speaking against that or saying, hey, y'all, don't do that to our people. I ain't heard too many. Got a lot of Asian folks that I'm friends with. Ain't heard them. I know I spoke up when they were talking about the Chinese virus, but I ain't heard the backland. Black folks is like, I am going to do a black business and I don't need no support only but for black people. What do you say for that?
They crazy.
I think it's possible if you set your expectations. If don't think you're going to attain the level of success that you're going to see this person over here doing who sell to everybody. Now, you could do it because my first business, my clothing line, I strictly sold to black people. I had nothing for a white or Mexican person to buy, and I did good. So, but it's just a matter of managing your expectations.
That's, you know what, brother, Baba, that was a very good answer. I mean, I said they're crazy. I only said that from the part of that's going to lead to a lot of heartache, because disappointment is something that we don't talk about. Yeah. When black people walk past your store to go to the Asian store to get the same T-shirt they could have got from you, that hurts. Man, I mean, you know, you just like, because I've seen black people like, take the piece and then go buy something from the Mexicans. I'm like, dude, how you just go power fist this person and go next? I mean, I've seen us do that before. I have. I'm originally from Philly, so I've seen that.
So is our downfall that we don't have the mentality for us, but we are providing for all that, like a service? Like, for instance, I have a thrift store. I think sometimes it hinders my thrift store when we say black-owned thrift store compared to just saying thrift store. So when they walk in my thrift store, Hidden Gems, with my business partner, they're like, it's a black guy working there. And they probably think I'm just a black guy working there, but not knowing I'm the owner or one of the owners of that store. Are we kind of, when we label ourselves, are we kind of misguiding our businesses and creating a setup for failure off top?
You know what? I think so. Yeah.
You think so? Why do you say that?
I mean, for me, you know, I'm black. I'm the face kind of my business, and so I know, just being black and being a woman, that there are certain people who are just not going to work for me because I'm black and I'm a woman. Period. People are not going to come and want to work here, even though my stuff is dope, even though I have all latest technology, even though the synergy, even though I've built a wonderful company. People don't want to work for me just because of the color of my skin. I get that. Ain't nothing I can do about that. That's why I didn't name my company Constance Carter Realty. I named it Catalyst because there was a meaning behind the name, you know, being a change agent. But I can't do anything about that. We are the largest African American owned real estate firm in California. And I tout that proudly because I'm black. I own it. It does not mean that I only employ black people. But people are turned off just because I'm black and I'm a woman. I mean, it is what it is. There are other things I can do, you know, in other businesses that I can totally say are not black businesses. You know, just put them out there as businesses.
Do y'all think sometimes, though, do other groups didn't have to have these kind of conversations about who they are? And do you think that mentally that is tiring in itself? Where, because we think that's what comes with being in America, that you have to always consider your blackness. If you're walking down, if you're driving down the street, you still have to consider your interaction with certain people, even though we're very resilient, that we'll be like, we're just gonna make it through. But then we have to also understand that there can be some mental kind of consequences when you can't even be proud enough to be just who you are.
Yeah,
like you have to dress it up.
My Hispanic counterparts, they will have an all Hispanic company and cater to Hispanics and saying we are here for the Hispanic community and nobody has a problem with it. If I were to say that same thing, people would say that I'm being militant, that I'm being exclusive, that I'm excluding people. You know, I mean, we don't get the same pass. That may be Baltimore or something.
Even though we built the place, even though we built the joint.
I mean, But shouldn't we say that though? That's what I'm saying. What I don't see not one Asian or Latino. If I can't read what they're saying on their menu, or I don't know it's enchilada, burrito, Chinese fried rice, I'm going into their culture and they're like, you're in my house. So why can't it be like that for black people? I think that my thing is, why do we always have to code switch? I'm tired of the code switching.
We've been demonized for
America. It's
But I'm
America.
tired of it. You know what I heard? I heard somebody say, and I've heard it many times, but it was funny. A colleague said that someone said that I was racist. I didn't like white folks. Like, huh? I got my best friends are white folks. You like that line? You know what I'm talking about? Why do we always have to say, let's put our blackness to the side for the comfortability of everybody else?
Because we've been beat down for so long, they think we're going to do the same thing that they've done to us. They scared. That's all.
So true. But I also think we got to do what our ancestors did. We got to take this opportunity and make something of it. That's what I think. I think at the end of the day, like this that's why it's important to know your history. That's why you can't let people make you erase your history. You can't help them do it. You have to say, God, if we came out of slavery and was building stuff, why can't we do it now? And that's going to take some sacrifice and some accountability and some responsibility. And we struggle with that because we want to be like everybody else, but we ain't willing to go all the way in like everybody else can go too.
Well, we know what killed our collective economics. We know what killed that, right? Integration. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just what it is. When we stopped having to do business with our people, we thought doing business with other people was better. Ain't nobody looking out for your best interest. And it kills me too when I see people that look like me that I'd rather go with another company because they're a white company. And I'm like, these people doing you with no gasoline. Real talk. But you don't even know. I'm going to look out for your best interest. I'm going to make sure that you take care of it. These are the same people, Wells Fargo, who was just sued for predatory lending a couple of years ago, but you'd rather go and spend your money with them. Come on. I mean, we are just perpetually brainwashed people.
Henry, go ahead, brother.
It is. And I think that brainwashing comes from, it's like, you can tell me that you're just as good, but how good can you be when you look just like me? And I know I got a foot on my neck. You mean to tell me you ain't got a foot on your neck? And so that's why rappers wear gold chains, because they want to give themselves credibility so that you listen to them. And so sometimes we have to get on those peacock feathers to get people to listen to us. And 9 times out of 10, they don't. Because at the end of the day, we're American. And we can't. The reason why we do have to tone down the black, well, I'm not going to say tone down. It just depends on what your mission is. If your mission is just to be in business, period, then what benefit does it give you to say I'm a black-owned business? Because especially when we know that the percentage of people that really matters to is very small. So I think we just got to do business knowing that we're a fabric of America. Anything that we are, America is going to steal. I saw a post one time that said, ghetto is simply something of black culture that they haven't figured out a way to sell yet. So until they accept it, we ghetto. And we just got to, we American, and we American, and until we all agree what our culture is, we gonna keep having it stolen.
Yeah, well, that's yet to be seen, right? Because we still can't agree. Are we African American? Are we Africans in America? Are we Afro American, or are we American? What are we? What are we? I can't agree on that yet.
And I think that the problem becomes a lot of the situations of what you said. We can't really agree on anything, right? Let's look at some of the complications. We can't agree that we should be Democrat or Republican or have our own party. We can't agree, should we stay in the hood or move out the hood or gentrify the hood ourselves? We can't agree, should we get our own education system, stay in a public food system, or homeschool our kids? We can't agree, should we vaccinate or should we not vaccinate? We can't agree if we should be church folk, fearing God, the white Jesus, or the black Jesus. It's almost all these things convoluted into one component. We can't agree Caribbean food to African food. And this whole kind of idea is happening in a circus play globally, right? You got Africans that get like Caribbeans are like Africans, Caribbeans that get ditched by African Americans, and we have this whole line of culture, taking away from culture, and not saying we need to absorb all our cultures and putting it on front line. Because if you really think about it, I really do believe that we can function in a place where we're striving instead of begging. And I want to get to a place where we're not begging, and in these moments we're not waiting for a stimulus check like, oh God, because what I saw, and when you said this earlier, you said this is one of the greatest times because the system is, it's falling, right? The capitalist system is kind of shedding away. Ain't that all what we wanted? Isn't this the kind of thing we wanted? Didn't we want Rome to fall? So why are we asking Rome to burn? Why are we trying to get the extinguisher? Let it burn. Let it crumble.
That's what we said. But that's what we say, Gary. And still, you have to be responsible for what's next. It's like freedom ain't free. It's like when people got out of slavery, I do a lot of research in actual places, they had to reprogram themselves to be free. So you can leave the plantation and go somewhere else and join another plantation because you don't know what it's like not to be on the plantation. You're like, I need a master. I need a wolf. There's some things I'm used to. To be free means you have to clothe yourself. You have to be accountable. For some people, they're not built for that. So I'm really grateful to see we on the line with these two entrepreneurs who are out there making it happen. And this is what I know to be true. I just know that when you get to that place, when you get desperate enough, you will figure this shit out.
It's true.
You will just figure it out. Because otherwise, how you gonna eat? When you gonna sleep? Yep. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna get your hustle on. You're gonna be braiding hair. You're gonna be cutting lawns. Like the Mexican, the guy who cuts all the grass around here, he was out here with a mask on, cutting grass like he do every day. So he was gonna get his money.
Do you guys
gotta figure that out?
Yeah, but do you guys now feel that after this pandemic, that we will see a upward rise of Black entrepreneurship moving forward?
And
you know what? Honestly, I've been telling everybody this right now is survival of the fittest. This will separate us from who ain't we.
Yeah, from the we's and us.
Yeah, we on $1 million, multi-million-dollar plan right now. Like you gave us too much time. You done gave us too much time. We got a month at home. We got like 8 things we about to pop off. Like people need to be trying to do that. But the ones who aren't, that just bought some TVs with they stimulus checks, the ones that just can't wait to get back to work, that will separate us.
It's some eggs got to get cracked to make the omelet.
Absolutely.
That's right. You mess up a lot of eggs trying to make a good omelet, a perfect omelet. That's real talk.
Yeah, I heard so. I see. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm grateful just to hear y'all today. I'm just grateful.
I see some memes. Like my cousin had some little meme talking about if laying on the couch is good enough for you, if that's your best and that's your best. I said, if you don't get your ass up, get your ass up. That is not good enough for you. Do something different. You was just complaining last month about your government job. Now you just laying on the couch. That is not good enough. Do something different. And so we have to shift our mindsets. And that's just, that's the thing that I'm trying to inspire people to do. Let's just shift our mindsets. Let's do something different. I think this fool in office, I think he's perfect for it right now, because if we don't wait,
You think we need 4 more years?
No. I'm just talking about right now. I ain't talking about 4 years. What I am saying is that if we don't wake the fuck up under what's going on right now, then I don't know what to do, because he has shown and proved that we have to be self-sufficient and we have to be independent. And if we don't see by him and then this, we ain't gonna never get it. But this should show us.
It depends on how sick you are. For some people, you just may need a glass of water. Some of us may need a shot of penicillin, and some of us may need a transplant. That's how I see Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the transplant man. I didn't vote for him, but I'm gonna tell you this: I think he gives us the gift that our ancestors keep trying to tell us about, because we act like what they went through was a walk in the park. So now the Creator has said, "Let me just give y'all a stronger dose. Let me show you what they was." And we ain't even dealing. He's not the worst president we've ever had. We had so many of them under slavery. We had so many of them under Jim Crow. We had.
Right.
So my thing is like Donald Trump. Look here, we couldn't have got a better kick your ass, nigga. I don't like you person right
That
now
part.
because we
That
need
part,
to feel that.
Yes,
We
have to.
all of that.
We can't keep having these people call us. Oh, just go ahead and keep giving you welfare and keep. No. We have to be self-sufficient. We got to be independent. We got to break away from depending on the government, depending on the white man. We got to start depending on ourselves, and we got to start depending on one another.
Right on. I'm with you, sis.
We also have to connect with nature to get answers to some of the stuff that's going on too, because once we started seeing the earth heal from us being sat down and put on a timeout, my mind said, oh, okay. There's so many different levels to what's going on. Like humanistically, we're looking at it like, oh, capitalistic structures falling, the government's doing this. I think a system of patriarchy is changing. I think the earth is healing. And this is just one of the many ways that she's put some kind of little twist on it to get us to do what we're doing. There's a reset, not just on the financial level, but a spiritual level too. And so whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, okay, so now that Mother Nature's speaking to us, I'm gonna go ahead and set my ass down. Because obviously this needs to happen. And I don't care who tries to tell me, oh, we need to hurry up. I'm like, no, she'll let us know when it's time. I don't have to listen to what Trump says or anybody else. I mean, I listen to the news to get the real twisted up inside the fake. But at the same time, I'm still watching Mother Nature in the background speaking to us. And so I'm like, okay, we do need to take a time out. We do need to sit down. I'll accept it. My ego's not going to let me say, oh, hell no, ain't nobody going to tell me what to do. Okay, yeah, it may have came from somebody who don't know what they're doing. But on the back end, we're getting a message from her like, okay, yes, I do need you to sit down. And then I can accept it. Run it through your own filter. Because sometimes that whole ego can get us trapped and we sabotage ourselves. Now I want to go outside. I don't want to listen to Trump. This will make no sense. But no, Mother Nature's saying this actually is working.
Yeah. And plus the biggest gift that Trump gave us, white people fighting white people now. I've always told my kids racism is not our responsibility. Let them figure that out. Right. And now white people are fighting white, like y'all talking about. They out there protesting. That's y'all's issue. We over here doing what we do. Leave us alone for a minute and let's build.
I love it.
Well, we got to wrap up. We got 4 minutes.
All right. Do we have any questions on the panel? Do we have anybody that has questions on the panel? Or the live?
People just agreeing. They just agreeing with people in here.
Okay.
Where are you posting? Yeah, where's this?
Because I can't. Facebook done blocked me on all type of stuff. I can't even put mine
up. So it is on YouTube on the Earth Mama Network. What I'll do is that when I hang up with y'all, email. Is that okay?
All right.
Perfect.
I'll send it right to y'all. I'll send you both links.
Oh, saying
Check real quick. We did a virtual Buy Black marketplace the other day, so we just wanted to get back our focus. There are Black businesses that are still open that have essentials. We wanted to bring light to the Black-owned restaurants, the people that are making masks, the hand sanitizers. So we're going to start doing that on a regular basis. And the tagline that I used is, I heard somebody say this, was for those of us that are already doing this, don't let a moment stop a movement. So that's been the theme of what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So I did share you all's Facebook, and while y'all talking, I went on and tried to. I think there was like a website page for you, Sister Constance, but I shared you guys' Facebook links. So if people want to connect with y'all, they can do that as well. I just think it's awesome.
Okay, so now you guys have said what your guys' thing is. We appreciate that, sis. Give us your notes on the things that you're doing right now, and you want to encourage people to keep on doing right now as well.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, so some things that I'm working on right now. I'm still, we're still selling real estate. I'm at the office right now. But here's what I want to encourage everybody to do, especially people who look like me, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles. I want you to really look at the thing that is that comes easy to you. Look at what God has gifted you with. Because a lot of times we'll think, okay, the business that we start has to be something that's really hard, it's really complex, or, I'm not effective if I don't do something that's really, somebody thinks is really intellectual. Think about that thing that God has gifted you with, something that you really wanted to do, maybe something even that that there's a need. There's a need. And try to create a business around it. And search Google. Take some time out to learn as much as you can. We should be reading at least a book, at least one book. If you can try to read a book a week, that'd be great. But read a book a month. But educate yourself. They say if you want to keep something from a Black person, what do? You put it in a book. And so we got to start educating ourselves. Listen to podcasts. Go on YouTube. Just educate ourselves right now. Don't finish Netflix like they saying. People say, "Hey, I finished Netflix. What's next?" No. I want you to start getting educated on the things that are out there. Just start Googling stuff. There are free trainings out there that you can get. But do whatever you can to pour into yourself right now, because when this is all said and done, you could really be beast mode. You could really manifest millions.
And now you also have some classes I've been seeing that you've been putting up, or you've been doing some podcasting, bringing some folks.
Yeah. I've been talking to. So we have the We Summit that's going to still be coming out, the Wealth Empowerment Summit, and really the idea behind that is just to introduce a lot of people to a lot of wealth building strategies. I go all over the country and I speak, but I also learn a lot. And so we were going to have it on 4/4, but you know what happened. And so right now it's tentatively scheduled for 8/8. But we have, people like Dr. George Fraser, who is phenomenal. I just interviewed him last week. I just interviewed Dr. Boyce Watkins yesterday. My friend Lisa Nichols, I'll be interviewing her in a couple of weeks. Ray J is going to be at the We Summit. Trey the Truth. And a host of thought leaders from all over the country are going to be here in Northern California. But what I'm doing is I'm doing some live interviews with them. I'm just trying to introduce people to who they are and what they're about, and just give them a little bit of education, get a little bit of glimpse. And it's been really life-changing and empowering for a lot of people. So I just want to see people, my dope super friends that I have, that I connect with, and that I glean from, because that's so important. And it's okay to do my board members say, hey, we should just do it virtually. But what I want people to understand is that there's nothing like being in the room and networking. And the reason why I've been able to get the connections that I've gotten is just being in the room. So we're still going to have our conferences, but when this is all said and done, don't be scared. Get out there, go meet people. You got to get from outside of your comfort zone. If you are the smartest person in your circle, you are in the wrong circle. And the only way you can get around the right circle is if you go and you be somewhere and you start networking with some people. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. So that's where I am. Thank you. Thank you for the platform.
No doubt. Like I said, y'all, we appreciate you guys coming into this beautiful conversation. Again, this is a first part of our series as we're going to continue to bring Black folks on the grassroots levels on their come up. This Black pandemic. We have been in a state of emergency. I mean, clearly we've been in a state of emergency, and these are solutions. And hopefully folks have heard some solution-based action ideas so you can take and run with it. Because our platform, we don't want to just keep pointing at the white man, keep pointing at the Negro leadership and those who we believe should be doing something. We kind of want to define what we can be doing and then bring it. Because I know for myself, as I continue to build with my family and people that are dear to me, once we get to those tables with other people, I'm going to be hollering at them like, hey, you wasn't helping. You didn't have the, the life preserver thrown over to us. Because I don't think this we are all together is true indeed. I feel that we should be doing a lot more things. Those who have a structure of power, because for us who are the little ponds in the big ocean, I think we're doing incredible things. So I commend every single one of y'all for the build and for coming on to our show. Again, love what y'all doing. Anything else you guys want to add as far as any events or things are popping? I mean, you got some leaders from Stockton and Arizona. I really don't want to say y'all in Arizona, but y'all somewhere. But we'll talk about that later. Anything else I want to drop? Any jewels? You guys good? Felt you said it?
Just keep pushing. Don't let it stop.
You're right.
I want to connect with sis about our house that we about to buy. So.
Yeah,
okay.
Hit me up. I like to connect the dots. You gotta
hit me up.
Sis, that's my sis. That's my sis.
Definitely hit me up.
All right, y'all. We're gonna let y'all get off here. Me and Monroe, we're gonna finish off the rest of the show, and we thank y'all for your support. Wait, last thing, give your social media right quick. Give your social media. For those who
I am Constance Carter on Instagram, and then Facebook. Nobody works harder than Constance Carter, and YouTube, same thing.
Nobody works harder than Constance Carter except Barry Axel. Go ahead, yeah.
I'm Havana Graham on Instagram, Stardust and Sage on Instagram, and Havana Love on Facebook.
Website, just launched a new hat business store in Phoenix called strawandwool.com. We got archwoodexchange.com and a couple other things, but those are the main two right now.
Right on.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So.
All right.
Okay, give us your. Y'all was gone for a second. It was at Teddy Riley, the coach of Teddy Riley.
No, they finished. They gave all this, Barry.
They gave it all?
You were gone.
You were gone.
Yeah. Okay. See? They playing me back here. All right, y'all. Peace and love. All right.
All right, peace, family. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Love y'all.
That was like, that's beautiful.